I am your host, Christene Marie, and we are reading through every single lesson of 365 days from A Course in Miracles workbook. And we are on day 7. It's January 7th, so happy Wednesday. And I'm just going to do a quick recount of the last 6 days and the lessons that we've moved through just to set the stage for today's lesson. So, lesson number 1. Nothing I see in this room means anything. Lesson 2, I have given everything I see in this room all of the meaning that it has for me. Lesson 3, I do not understand anything I see in this room. Lesson 4, these thoughts do not mean anything. They are like the things I see in this room. Lesson 5, I am never upset for the reason I think. Lesson 6, I am upset because I see something that is not there. And lesson 7, I see only the past. This idea is particularly difficult to believe at first, yet it is the rationale for all of the preceding ones. It is the reason why nothing you see means anything. It is the reason why you have given everything you see all of the meaning that it has for you. It is the reason why you do not understand anything you see. It is the reason why your thoughts do not mean anything, and why they are like the ones you see, or like the things you see. It is the reason why you are never upset for the reason you think. It is the reason why you are upset because you see something that is not there. Old ideas about time are very difficult to change because everything you believe is rooted in time and depends on your not learning these new ideas about it. Yet that is precisely why you need new ideas about time. This first time idea is not really so strange as it may sound at first. Look at a cup, for example. Do you see a cup, or are you merely reviewing your past experiences of picking up a cup, being thirsty, drinking from a cup, feeling the rim of the cup against your lips, having breakfast, and so on? Are not your aesthetic reactions to the cup too based on the past experience? How else would you know whether or not this kind of cup will break it if you drop it? What do you know about this cup except that you learned it in the past? You would have no idea what this cup is except for your past learning. Do you then really see it? Look about you. This is equally true of whatever you look at. Acknowledge this by applying the idea for today indiscriminately to whatever catches your eye. For example, I see only the past in this pencil. I see only the past in this shoe. I see only the past in this hand. I see only the past in that face. Do not linger over anything in particular, but remember to omit nothing specifically. Glance briefly at each subject and then move on to the next. 3 or 4 practice periods each to last a minute or so will be enough. Wow, I'm so grateful for this. I'm so grateful for A Course in Miracles. Ash, thank you so much for joining. I just saw you pop up on YouTube. Y'all, this lesson, honestly, it's so powerful. I may end up reading it once more. I see only the past. I'm talking about A Course in Miracles. We're reading one lesson every single morning, and we started January 1st. And so the first lesson, and even up until yesterday's lesson, we were all kind of wondering, like, where are we heading with this? And the whole purpose of the last 6 lessons, we kind of find in lesson 7, where it says, I see only the past, because for the last 6 days, she's been talking about how what we see doesn't mean anything. Our thoughts don't mean anything. What we're upset about isn't what we're actually upset about. And the reason is because we're assigning the past and projecting it onto everything we see here in this present moment. Even as simple as, here's my face cream, I'm assigning the past on this. I only know this because of the past experience with it. So if we really want to see with new eyes, if we really want to allow for something new to occur, we have to learn how to be so fully in the present that we're not assigning meaning or assigning and projecting the past onto something right here, right now, much less so in the future. And one of the reasons why this is really damaging is that, for example, if we're in a relationship and the person has a history of behaving a certain way and they're trying to change, we actually don't let them change, because when they behave according to what they know and how they're trying to adjust, and we just keep assigning the past to them. We're judging them according to past behaviors rather than allowing them to grow and evolve. My mom actually, so wise. She said, your dad and I went through a hard time, a couple, very, very, very early on in their marriage. They're celebrating 40 years this year, which is incredible. And she said that, I had been behaving a certain way. It took a year and a half for your dad to really believe that I had changed. And obviously that's hard. Like, that's hard for my mom who's trying to change. And that's hard for my dad to relearn, to train his nervous system that something's going to be different and that he doesn't need to react the way that he has before to protect himself, to keep himself safe. And so often the way we react based on the past is, she's giving some examples like even hand cream or face cream, every inanimate object. But it's so much more so damaging and has the potential to be damaging when we're viewing the past and projecting it on other people. Also on ourselves. We actually can limit our own growth because we say, oh, I can't, rather than I wonder if I could, if I allowed for something new to take place in my life. And so just want to take a quick moment and jump here into the chat. I'm live on a couple different streaming platforms, but Ash, thank you again for joining, your local Conehead. Good to see you. Thank you for joining today. Sir Max, Deuteronomy 18:10. I am just reading this here. I'm going to take some time afterwards to dive a little bit deeper into this because I'm not sure what it is. I'm reading A Course in Miracles. That's the book that we're basing this off of, but I'll go ahead and take some time to read that verse. Thank you for sharing. Majid, thank you for coming on. I'm doing well today. I'm actually grateful. I promised last night I went live very late to read A Course in Miracles, and lesson 6 was something that I should have taken with me during the morning. And so I'm really, really committed to reading these every single morning with you all. And y'all, I'm going to be setting my alarm many times throughout the day just with this lesson, I see only the past. And having this lesson be kind of a recurring theme for me today, because when I allow for myself to remember that, so it's just practice, it's just retraining my mind. There's actually a scripture that says, how do they say it? Through the renewal of your mind. We need to renew our minds. We need to we can train our mind to think something different, but it takes practice and it takes a renewal. It's like, okay, I'm going to put aside things of the old and past, and I'm going to teach myself something new. But in that process, there's usually a little death that needs to take place for the purpose of rebirth, for the purpose of coming alive in a new way that we've never come before. And so in that process of allowing for death, coming to life again, there's some painful letting go of old patterns and programs. I hosted a knowing retreat this weekend, which I host them regularly, whether they're, somebody comes in and says, hey, can you host a knowing retreat for my community? Or I just put it on. I was talking with the attendees a lot about old patterns and old programs, but we can't allow for a new pattern and a new program to come into our minds, hearts, and souls and spirits until we actually come to a place of peace ourselves, because we can't teach ourselves something new if we're in fight or flight, if our nervous system is dysregulated, if we're feeling chaotic, if we're feeling uncertain and not peaceful, we're not actually able to install a new program. So in order for us to even teach ourselves this lesson, I see only the past, we actually need to be maintaining this place of peace. So as I have my alarm set for the reminder, I see only the past, what I'm also going to commit to you all today too is just to take a really deep breath. Yesterday, I hosted a Q&A with a gentleman who's a performance coach and a psychologist. He is brilliant. And one of the things we were talking about in terms of how to get regulated, he said, you breathe anyways, you might as well breathe with intention. When we get into stress, we actually have shallow breathing. But what brings us into stasis and more peace, even in a moment of stress, is to actually breathe deeply, because when we do shallow breathing, we're actually cutting off oxygen to our brain. And that's what often triggers our nervous system to go into fight or flight, is because we're actually restricting access of oxygen flow to our brain. So cool. It's so much more simple than we think it is. And so as I try to remind myself of this new way of being, this new practice of just everything I see is the past. And And I want to be so here in the present. Look at that tree, look at that person. And then it allows for love versus fear. Because if we're living propelled by the past, we can't help but be fearful because the past is what we know and we got hurt back then. Sure, maybe there's really wonderful moments, but a lot of times when we're projecting the past onto a person, it often has to do with something fear based. And so when we think about being in new relationships and we're like, man, that honeymoon stage, it's because we're learning something new and we're not assigning their past behaviors on them yet. But man, after a bit of time, we start projecting their past on them in addition to our past on them. And so now it's like the person has a double whammy. They're being held against their own past behavior, but also your past wounds. And then we wonder, why are relationships so hard? But if we're able to practice getting ourselves into a stasis, just a place of peace, just by really doing those deep breaths throughout the day, and then also reminding ourselves, I see only the past. That just positions us to operate in a place of curiosity. So, just a quick check in here. Matt, I don't know how to say your name, Massith Megamind. My New Year's resolution is predictability. I really want to be so predictable this year, and operate from a place of um, honestly peace. But I think predictability will actually allow for peace. Like if I want peace, I actually need to be so predictable with my routines because, again, that helps train our nervous system. And I just found that this past year, I actually felt more inner peace, but my external life was just a little crazy. So I'm trying to bring my external life to less travel and just really being home based and intentionally working on being predictable and how I show up, when I show up, even doing these shows. I want to pick a certain time of day once I get into more of a normal routine where I just am always showing up at the same time. I want to show up via email newsletters at the same time, just being really predictable with my schedule, with my routines, and also with my output so that I then, on the other side of that, I think predictability leads to peace. It leads to my goal also as partnerships. And then positioning. I really want knowing to make an impact, and I believe it can, but I need to be predictable in order to build it to be what it can be. So knowing is the mission, that people actually come to cultivate and understand who they are, both emotionally, spiritually, yes, intellectually, but our IQ has been developed for so long since we were in grade school, but our EQ and our IQ so much of the time hasn't been touched our EQ, our emotional intelligence and spiritual intelligence, we just do what we're told. And we haven't really thought, how am I feeling? And we haven't really thought, what do I believe? And in those questions, I've come to know God way deeper. I've come to know myself so much more. But in me coming to know myself, because I'm the created, by coming to know me, I came to know my creator. It's so amazing how that works. But for so much of my life, I was taught, basically to ignore myself and don't have any kind of relationship with myself because of all these reasons. So it's been such a journey. And even this weekend, it was actually a retreat for Christian women. And I had never done that before. And frankly, I felt nervous because I was coming in and sharing some things that, they don't talk about emotional intelligence a lot in the church. And so I'm here like, you need to know your soul. You need to know you. You're worthy of being known. You have a mission here that no one else can accomplish. God made you for a very specific reason. And you actually need to know, what do you want? And very few of the women could actually say what they wanted because we don't know how to think about ourselves. And the goal of thinking about ourselves is so that we can love better. It's so that we can serve better. It's so that we're giving from an overflow rather than from depletion. And that changes everything. That changes the game entirely. And so to your point about predictions, that's my predictability. That's my goal, is predictability. Long list of errors. I love your name. Consistency is key. I could not agree more. I mean, frankly, I need more of that. So I need to keep learning that lesson. And then skincare. Thank you. I use Virginia Scents and Soaps. I guess it's turned around. Virginia Soaps and Scents. This woman, my sister and I were at the the fair grounds. It wasn't the fair, it was some kind of like pop-up trade show or something. And she's this mother of, I think, 9 children. And she was so annoyed that natural, healthy skincare products were so expensive. So she just like made her own line. So in this, this is moisturizing cream. It has water, coconut oil, palm oil, emulsifying wax. I don't know what that is, olive oil, and then just like a few other things. But it's really healthy. And there's only like 6 ingredients as opposed to some of these other products that just have so many. So, King Jesus is coming soon. So glad to see you. We were reading this morning from A Course in Miracles, and lesson 7 is I see only the past. And it was so good. And so that's my goal today, is that every time my alarm goes off with this reminder of lesson 7, I see only the past, I'm going to take a deep breath, like from my stomach. That's actually, if you've ever done any kind of music, they encourage you to breathe from your diaphragm, which is like the place right below your belly button. And that's the powerhouse for your voice. So if you actually were to blow out your diaphragm like a balloon, like you're blowing it up. So actually, as you take a deep breath, you're actually supposed to fill up, your diaphragm's supposed to expand like a balloon. So as you fill up, it's not your shoulders coming up with air, it's like your diaphragm. And that's where you really get strength for deep, holistic breathing. And then in so doing, there's a calming that comes to our nervous system. And then just repeating this lesson, I see only the past. Because what that does is that then in the present, we're way more humble. We're way more receptive. We're way more open to the fact that maybe what we're seeing and identifying as the problem perhaps really isn't. So with that, thank you all so much for joining me today. I will be on later this evening for the Knowing Show, where we'll be diving into some topics. I would also love to hear from you guys about some of the things that you would love to have us chat about. But in the meantime, thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you have just such a wonderful day. And